It was during the 2024 New York Film Festival that a van pulled up outside Lincoln Center. While the festival, with its slate of new films unspooled inside, a curious number of people also flocked towards this van, waiting upwards of 10 hours to sneak a peek into the back, which was stocked with superb editions of some of the finest titles in classic and contemporary cinema. The van was a mobile replica of the Criterion Closet, the coveted room at the Criterion Collection headquarters where one could hope to find every in-print title the Criterion Collection offered. It was a stunt to celebrate the collection's 40th anniversary.
This happens to be my favorite place on Earth. And too bad, most of you will never know what it's like to be in here. Or will you?
So what exactly is the Criterion Collection?
The Criterion Collection. It's a very democratic canon that includes a lot of movies that are the acknowledged masterpieces of world cinema, but also a lot of movies that are rediscoveries that Criterion has helped to introduce to the world.
The company was formed in 1984 by Robert and Aline Stein and Joe Medjuk. It was a subordinate division of the Voyager Company, which the Steins formed with William Becker and Jonathan Terrell with the purpose of publishing educational multimedia CD-ROMs.
Couple, Aline Stein, who had been working on laserdiscs in Los Angeles, first came to Janus, I think, to license pictures. The original logo actually looked like a book, a disc turning into a book. It also looked like a key. Very strange.
Janus Films is a theatrical exhibition company formed in 1956, which has a film catalog which includes some of the finest titles in world cinema. And just like that, the lifeblood of the modern cineast was born. Citizen Kane and King Kong were the first two Laserdisc releases of the Criterion Collection. Through the 80s and 90s, the collection would introduce and reintroduce the works of luminaries, while also being pioneers in home video, releasing films in the original aspect ratio and supplementing the film with special features and scene-specific commentaries. It is often the quality and the thoughtfulness of these special features that make the Criterion Collection especially appealing to scholars and cineasts. In fact, Criterion has long adopted the moniker that their editions are a film school in a box. Terry Gilliam's much-debated Brazil is truly a highlight of the collection. Its 3-disc edition contains the director's cut of the film, with commentaries, alongside a bonus disc featuring the much-maligned studio version that was forced upon Gilliam when he wouldn't bring his cut down to the agreed-upon length. The set is topped off with a 3rd disc replete with a documentary exploring the production and troubled release of the film, as well as the reasoning behind the different cuts of the movie. Criterion has often pulled out the stops for their releases, sometimes even including additional feature films and novelizations. Criterion also tracks down insightful featurettes and produces analytical video essays that enhance the viewing experience. Orson Welles' F for Fake is paired with a documentary on his work, Orson Welles' One-Man Band. Night of the Living Dead and Carnival of Souls contain extensive special features that explore how advertising companies went on to independently produce seminal horror pictures. Perhaps the main difference here is while a lot of typical special features on major studio releases tend towards pieces originally geared to sell the picture, the Criterion Collection tends to create supplements that seek to explore the film and educate viewers on it. A film school in a box, one might say. Perhaps more nefariously, or innocently if viewed in a favorable light, the collection issued a spine number to each of their releases, creating an order and collectability that may not otherwise have been obvious. The spine numbers have no relevance other than indicating the order in which the Criterion Collection got around to releasing the title. Criterion would release Laserdiscs up through March of 1999, when the final Criterion Collection Laserdisc was released, Armageddon. Yes, that Armageddon shares a spine number with Seven Samurai and The Virgin Spring. Criterion has been known to throw a curveball or two with their releases. More on this later. 1998 also saw the collection entering the DVD market. Notably, they restarted the spine numbering system, and that system remains in effect to this day. The DVD market had a much larger reach than did Laserdisc, and this allowed the Criterion Collection to reach a wider audience. The first DVD release was Seven Samurai, assigned spine number 2. The collection had chosen Grand Illusion as its inaugural spine number 1, but the restoration was lengthy and delayed the release by a year. But again, in trying to understand exactly what the Criterion Collection is, one might ask what exactly is the criterion of the Criterion Collection and what does it represent?
I think that the idea is that the movies should convey the brand into the world, and then the producers who work on our editions can speak about the editions that they've produced. But I think that the most important thing for us is that the films have to come first.
Well, that seems to be a slippery answer and one that has changed and evolved over the decades. Most film lovers get into the collection due to the scope of the Janus Films catalog. Any lover of cinema that wants to explore the works of Fellini or Truffaut will naturally discover the Criterion Collection as they release the catalog of Janus films on home video. The spine numbering system encouraged collectability, and the consistency of their releases also encouraged excited cineasts to take chances on titles they had never before heard of. If Criterion chose to give the film the Criterion treatment, Criterion collectors trusted this. And there are also the Criterion children, my term as far as I know it, so don't look it up. These are the filmmakers whose work seems to be prevalent in the collection. Alex Cox, David Cronenberg, Terry Gilliam, etc. They may not all be great films, but they will always be welcome in the collection.
I mean, obviously there are some filmmakers that we've shown a real dedication to. We love working with Wes Anderson.
When Wes Anderson was invited into the collection with his sophomore effort Rushmore, he was truly delighted, and he soon worked up a deal for all his films to get Criterion editions. So regardless of the cultural importance of each individual film, Wes's films each have Criterion editions, which is just kind of a business deal based on economics and availability rather than merit. Then again, so was the Janus catalog, which is the core and spine, pun intended, of the collection. They had access to Janus films, which happen to have the rights to the entire filmography of Bergman and Kurosawa. The exact criteria for admission into the collection has long been a debated question, with many internet threads devoted to questioning the merits of this or that entry. The company itself enjoys mixing things up and confounding folks who have brokered such discussion. There was a particular delight in the DVD release of their number 100 spine, which was the spine numbers were well into the 500s when the company dropped their first set of Blu-rays. Growing and expanding, the company's deal-making became more apparent when the Criterion Collection brokered a deal to distribute certain IFC Films titles. Among the initial slate was Antichrist and Arnaud Desplat's A Christmas Tale. While some were excited a film such as Lars von Trier's Antichrist would get the Criterion treatment, others were skeptical of a deal based on a package of films rather than the worth of the individual film. As discussed before, this wasn't exactly new business, except IFC Films and Janus Films are a bit different. And to be fair, Criterion had started to utilize a sister line titled Eclipse Films, which packaged collections of lesser films in the catalog that were of interest to cineasts, such as the early films of Kurosawa, Bergman, etc. But these were in standard editions at a cheaper price point. The Criterion Collection also entered the streaming game when it hooked up with Hulu. This would allow them to not only stream titles they released in physical format, but also titles in their catalog they had not yet released to physical media, and expand their empire beyond the physical. They would later pivot to be part of the short-lived app Filmstruck in 2016. This streaming service, which ran through 2018, is considered by some to have been the best such service available. It curated classic and contemporary programming packages, replete with special features, documentaries, and interviews. It was a special place for film lovers. After Filmstruck shut down, the Criterion Collection embarked upon the Criterion Channel, a streaming service all of their own. In 2021, the collection went UHD Ultra High Def with their first slate of 4K titles, including Citizen Kane, re-entering the collection for the first time since its initial laserdisc release nearly 40 years prior. But a lot changed in the physical media landscape. Many studios and companies were shuttering their physical media distribution and going all in on streaming. This allowed for a loosening of licensing rights on titles the collection desired, such as Kane, because the companies that owned the rights had no desire to release competing editions. But there was also the rise of boutique companies such as Arrow, Second Sight, Vinegar Syndrome, Kino Lorber, Eureka, and Severin. These companies too specialized in deluxe packaging of films. To stand out in a new market in which films were now being not only remastered but containing feature-length documentaries and hardbound essay books to accompany their releases, Criterion decided to pivot and strike a deal with Netflix? It may have been a long time coming, but this was the moment when the Criterion Collection made its final decision and turned at the fork in the road towards popularism. Rather than having specially curated features about the historical impact of a film, Criterion Collection is now releasing brand new titles such as Uncut Gems and Honora, whose initial theatrical and award series run will not even be over by the time it hits shelves. It depends on who you ask whether this was a good move or not. The cinema purists and true collectors, a lot of them took this with a sad sigh. They appreciated their time with Criterion, but had to admit the label now had a safe feeling and there was a new game in town. On the other hand, the company had also amassed a cult-like following over time. A lot of people were aware of Criterion, either from now seeing titles in the collection they recognized, or through their streaming service or social media presence. There were some old diehard fans who would post on message boards their disdain when Arrow or Kino Lorber released their own editions of a title that used to be on Criterion DVD. It was as if they only wished to procure the title in a Criterion edition. They had done so for so long. They are loyal. Because that they collected the Criterion Collection said more about them than a title being in the collection said about it at this point. They knew things about cinema. This brings us to the closet. The Criterion Closet, a former bathroom with a redesigned purpose located in the New York City offices of the Criterion Collection, contains every title distributed by Criterion, totaling over 1,700 films. Beginning in 2010, when director Guillermo del Toro entered the closet, Criterion started releasing videos of directors and other celebrities getting to pillage the closet and discuss their favorite films and what they were taking from the closet. These videos became hits online. Since then, there have been over 200 videos of folks making selections from the Criterion Closet. So it was with great fanfare that in 2024, for the company's 40th anniversary, the Criterion Closet built a replica of their film closet in an 18-foot van that would then be taken on a road trip throughout the United States after hitting the New York Film Festival. After queuing up and waiting, visitors stepped inside the van with a tote bag and made their own closet pics. They could film their adventures for their social media accounts in which they provide their own reasons for their choices, within 3 minutes, of course. So, what then exactly is the Criterion of the Criterion Collection?
It's a matter of not just thinking, what should I watch tonight? It's a matter of thinking, why would I watch that? And having a feeling of where you want to go next.
It's not that we have the run of every film that's made. That's what I mean. It's not like we get to vote. It's not in that way that we get to choose from everything. There certainly are cases where someone has to be passionate about a film.
Which seems to be ultimately the only criterion of the collection, that it was chosen for the collection, for whatever reason, whether you get it or not. But in whatever way it shakes out, and whether you still find appeal in their semi-annual Barnes & Noble sales or you have moved on, Criterion's place is firm in the annals of film lovers and physical media. Having pioneered cinema as a collectible item, they then created the idea of a film school in a box with specially curated special features, documentaries, and commentaries. Criterion may be middle-aged. Newer companies may be reaching for the throne of being considered the premier film distribution company. But even still, none of these new kids on the block would have been anybody without the trailblazing in Criterion Collection. They have shown these companies the way and left us in good hands.
The Criterion Collection set out in the early 80s to gather the greatest films from around the world under a single banner, and at the time we were publishing them on laserdiscs. The idea was that we would use the features of the technology to augment these films, to try and provide some context so that we could deepen the viewer's appreciation of the art of film and make Criterion not just a home video line, but some kind of contribution to film culture.
Welcome to middle age, Criterion. You may not be as relevant anymore, but you meant a lot to our dads.
Movies are still successful, whatever the support is, tape or disc or, I don't know, crystal in 10 years or in 100 years, I don't know.
Hey Tongalers, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe for more exclusive Tongal content. And if you're a creator, be sure to visit the Tongal website at tongal.com for some exciting opportunities.